So morning everybody, morning. Thank you to those that have joined us live for this Calm Leader Live, and hello to those of you that are watching on playback. We have got a brilliant session for you today with the amazing game-changing change maker that is Lynne Matthews, and her super exciting project work, the brilliant work that she's done on Destination Nuclear. So we're going to get into some of that and hear more about all about kind of why the kind of 4 dimensions of calm are kind of playing a key role in terms of driving that agenda forward, and also in terms of Lynne's kind of personal leadership, how kind of some of those kind of key behaviours and mindsets have kind of helped her along that journey. So I'll let you kind of introduce yourself. Over to you, Lynne.
Thanks, Sarah, and yes, thanks for having me on this Calm Leaders Live session. So yeah, me from a work perspective, my home organisation's EDF, but I've been seconded to the Destination Nuclear project, which is part of the National Skills Plan. So there's a big drive in nuclear to deliver an ambition in energy and in defence, and to be able to do that, they're going to need, or we're going to need, a lot more skills, a lot more people to be able to deliver that ambition. And so therefore this is part of one of those programmes to attract people into nuclear. From a personal point of view, I'm a mum of 2 lovely children, well, usually lovely, and I live in Cheltenham.
Exciting times, isn't it, then, in terms of the last kind of, is it 12 to 18 months or so?
18 months, yeah.
18 months, goodness me. So let's get into kind of some of the calm stuff. The first dimension of calm is C, so all around kind of connection and purpose and building community. So why would you kind of say that kind of idea of building a community, building, I think you call them an army of advocates, don't you, for the Destination Nuclear, why has that been sort of a critical enabler in terms of delivering the outcomes for the project?
So the project, for those that aren't so aware of them, it's a attraction campaign initially, which drives people to a site, which educates them, and then they get the opportunities to explore the jobs in nuclear and click on apply. So there's a mechanism, a tool, if you like, a user journey there. However, to really be able to create a sustainable model, sorry, I'm getting some feedback. So, to create a sustainable model. This isn't something that we are doing to the sector. This is something that is being done with the sector. So it's absolutely important that right from the start, the community actually looks like this. It looks like the development of everything we do. We've got a community in there. So making sure that we're capturing all of those thoughts and making sure that the product's right from the start. But then taking it to market, we have multi-channels, but then it's really all about the people. We're trying to really promote what it's like to work in nuclear, that it's part of a big family and all of this sort of thing. So it's not just a campaign that's going to tell us that, it's the people that are within the sector as a whole. So what we're doing in terms of creating community is making sure that we're linking with enabling organisations like Women in Nuclear and Young Generation Network and all of those organisations, voluntary organisations that exist, for them to be our army to sort of take the message out there. So yeah, creating something that is sustainable and long lasting is going to be absolutely reliant on having a strong community that really believe.
It's that sort of power of the storytelling piece, isn't it? Kind of join the dots between all the different stakeholders and community groups. So much passion for community within nuclear, and I think again that's something that we're trying to get out as part of the story, isn't there? That it can be a real kind of home. People can find a home in a sector. It's a great place to work, and lots of people really inspired to do work which makes a difference. So for you as a leader, how is kind of doing this project, how has that kind of ticked your box in terms of your purpose and being able to make a difference, you know, for you, with your own goals and values?
Well, as you know, Sarah, I'm sort of very passionate about nuclear and the what it can offer. The programme has been able to sort of have a much bigger shop window and reach those that wouldn't normally consider nuclear. So it's provided a purpose. I'm bringing people in to the workplace, but, you know, being able to show all the array of jobs that nuclear can offer, and from a personal point of view, you say a purpose. I mean, it's been brilliant to have this opportunity to be able to go and lead something like this, and to lead a absolutely brilliant team. My personal style is creative, innovative, connecting dots, and this program has allowed us to really have a peripheral vision and look at all that and bring something together that's actually going to offer opportunities to people that are either further away from the workplace or, like I said, have never thought of nuclear before.
Brilliant. 40,000 jobs, I think, is the stat, isn't it, that gets kind of floated around the kind of the mountain that's got to be climbed.
Yeah.
You know, sort of really compelling part of that campaign is the futures in your power. So getting on to kind of the A of calm, which is all around working on kind of mindset, you know, below the waterline, tapping into kind of changing people's thoughts and feelings as a way to changing behaviour. So many kind of change programs try and just get people to change behaviour, don't they? Whereas actually the magic really happens below that waterline when you're starting to tap into that thoughts and feelings level. How do you think that Destination Nuclear has kind of worked to change what people outside of the sector and inside the sector perhaps think and feel about working in nuclear?
So if we start inside the sector, it's been, yeah, no, it's interesting because actually this campaign goes across what we call civil nuclear, which the company is sort of in the energy sector, and it also goes across defence. And I know, you know, part of the calm philosophy is around culture. So looking at those different, very, very different cultures and encouraging people to work together for a common purpose has been a change of mindset internally. How do you truly collaborate? We talk about collaboration so much, you know, at conferences and, you know, at various events. We all need to collaborate in order to deliver this big national endeavour. However, what I would say, Destination Nuclear has been a really good example and a really good vehicle for true collaboration and the changing of mindset of, you know, we're not in our siloed areas. Yes, you know, we are Ministry of Defence and we do need all these engineers and we do need all these, you know, manufacturing, welding, whatever. We're EDF, we need the same, but actually let's stop being in competition. Let's truly collaborate and try and open the funnel and bring as many as we can and then share. So that was interesting in terms of an example of inside the sector. Outside the sector, I think the gap was they didn't really, we've done loads of research and the understanding of what jobs are available in nuclear and the array of jobs from, marketing, for example, but marketing, catering, hospitality, you know, what it takes to build a power station, what it takes to run it, what it takes to build a fleet of submarines, you know, and then put them out to action. You know, there's so many roles and it's not just what people may think, which are the more sort of STEM related roles. So it's been an opportunity to shift the perception of nuclear and what the sector offers in terms of future careers for individuals.
And what have you taken on in terms of your own mindset? So you've done, you've had an amazing career doing lots of different change programs in lots of different complex organisations and settings. What has this project kind of given you in terms of what you've taken away in terms of your own mindset around change?
Well, it's been a great challenge, this one in particular, with a whole array of stakeholders and bringing them all together. And I think when I first started out my career, I started out in sport, and there was always like some really interesting correlations between a sporting mindset and what it takes to be. Not that I was a top athlete, by the way. I was on the media side, so you know, but what it takes to be an athlete, and the mindset and the importance of that. And my son used to play rugby, It still does, actually. And one of the interesting things I used to see when they were younger is when a ref made a decision, they get emotionally hijacked in that decision, whatever it was. And then for the next 10 minutes, they probably wouldn't play as well as they could. So the whole sort of lesson around that's happened, move on. Now, when you're working on such a broad project like Destination Nuclear, it's how to think. You're not going to get, everything's not going to be perfect, but you've got to, things happen, you move on, you know, things happen, you move on. And I'm not saying that people have made bad decisions at all. People have made brilliant decisions, but as a leader, it's working across all those and getting the greater good, and then moving to the next level, moving to the next level. And that, from a mindset, don't get emotionally hijacked with one thing over here, one thing over there. Think of it, stand back, breathe. You're go slower to go faster, sort of breathe, look at the broader picture, keep your eye on the prize, and then move it in and out. And that's something from personally that I have experienced quite a lot, and something that I've taken from my past that I've thought, no, don't get emotionally hijacked in anything.
Absolutely, a brilliant point. In Calm, we call it like red head to blue head. So that ability to kind of switch from red head to blue head. So in that crisis moment when we're kind of feeling triggered, like how can we kind of reset and move forwards? And a lot of it's creating space and time, isn't it? Which you don't always have the luxury of having. But the kind of more we practice it, the more the brain learns that we can find different options, isn't it? We create ourselves that space. So moving on to that not always having much time. So dimension 3, which is let me rest. So all about energy. How do we manage our energy? So a new concept for many in the workplace these days, and lots of people trying to explore it. So obviously our mantra is slow down to go faster. A huge project, a very busy team, lots of deliverables. And as you sort of said, lots of stakeholders. I know, you know, talking to you over the last sort of 12 to 18 months, you've often been working really hard to try and kind of keep all the stakeholders up to date and unlock decisions and outcomes. How have you helped yourself and the team kind of keep on top of energy levels through such a sort of busy and high profile time?
So I think priority is one. I've just described, you know, don't get hijacked, keep your eye on the prize. The other is actually stepping back, is really getting to know the team and letting them be themselves. And once you get to know your team and you bring your own self to work and don't try to be something that you're not, you start to really understand people's strengths and what they want to do, what they want to work on, and to be able to work at the pace we have and deliver something that, to be quite frank, we had to start and launch a campaign in 3 months that would normally take 9 to 12 months to develop and get out there. So we all had to have a bit of a war effort. And by knowing each other really well, or getting to know each other well, and building trust and knowing how each is tick and, you know, what buttons to press and not to press, you're then able to sort of build in a faster pace. So to take time to get to know people and get to build the team actually helps with the speed when you really need to get that war effort and get things over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the speed of trust, isn't it? I think it's called sometimes. You've laid that trust foundation.
Yeah, and you know, with that, then all muck in, you know, don't try and do everything yourself. We've all got sort of roles to play. Sorry, I'm just plugging in my actually going low. We've all got roles to play, and you know, I've got an oversight, but I don't try and control everything. You know, we get everything set up, and then people have got some individuality as well and what they need to do.
Yeah. What do you find energizing? And you've already talked about creativity and innovation and things like that. So in terms of how do you sort of manage your energy levels around work, what are the things that energize you and what are the things that perhaps aren't so energizing, might be a bit draining?
Yeah. Well, I'm a real people person. So I think a real key part of this job was that, and is that. So making sure that to be able to get things right, you're talking to people, you're listening to people, the importance of connectivity and not going down a rabbit warren because it's what you think, but being out there and seeing what's out there is really important. And in terms of energy levels, often when you know and find what's out there and connect things up. You're not then reinventing the wheel or duplicating things. You're actually, some of the time, getting things done a lot faster by just bringing people together and making things happen. So, you know, that's one of the ways that that I managed to not do unnecessary things, but actually make things happen. But my own personal energy, yeah, it's just making sure I'm out there with people, keeping connected. But also on the flip side of that, you know, is getting a balance. So in my personal life, making sure that I'm making time for my kids, making sure that I exercise as much as I can. Doesn't always happen, and this role has had absolutely no routine. That's a real challenge. But you know, where I can, and keep in perspective on you know, making sure you don't get too sucked in on everything.
Yeah, perspective is a massive one, isn't it? And it's kind of hard to find when we're in that redhead space as well, isn't it? So it's remembering like that we need to have a bit of space to be able to kind of reconnect a sense of perspective when things get really difficult. How do you think the concept of slow down to go faster kind of fits in terms of nuclear sector culture? What would be your take on the journey around that?
Wow, that's a big question. I think it doesn't have to be necessarily the nuclear sector culture. I mean, it's a general principle, isn't it? You could have loads of plates spinning and not do anything properly, you know, fast, trying to get involved in everything, trying to do everything. And actually, you then don't do anything necessarily well, or you miss things in life because you're trying to go too fast. So I think, you know, bringing it back to the DN role and like say nuclear as a whole, I think it's important to maybe do a few things well, but also realise that actually you can increase those amount of things you do with that classic 80-20 rule. You know, I think there's a nature sometimes in the sector to feel that everything has to be perfect and 100% right. It has to be safe and it has to be, but we don't learn and evolve like that. You know, unless we take risks and do the fail fast thing, we're not going to evolve and innovate. But creativity and doing new things can take a lot of energy. Actually, it can, you know, because you're trying to take some concepts and trying to influence people and that side of things. So I think it's just making sure that you do compartmentalize a little bit, and you know, you've got your evolution and creativity here, and then you're getting things over the line there. And I think if you step back and make sure now and again to sort of prioritize what's important, what's really going to move things forward, then you do go slower to end up going faster in the long term.
Yeah, it's I mean, there's a lot of talk, isn't there, now about kind of game changers, and you know, in terms of some of the feedback from particularly the younger generations within nuclear has been about the pace of change within nuclear, and you know, people feeling like they can get their voice heard because there's so much complexity. So looking at Destination Nuclear as a game changer, what lessons do you think the legacy of your time with the project do you hope is left with the sector around a different approach to people and culture change moving forward?
Yeah, I think the main thing, I've probably mentioned it, is the benefits of truly collaborating. I mean, the team that I have with Destination Nuclear sits in a slightly wider team, which is the National Skills Strategy team that own the plan. And actually, it's been so interesting because, you know, I sit with people from government, people from MOD and people from these big organisations, all different backgrounds, all different experiences. And actually, it's been brilliant. And look what we've done and what we're doing beyond Destination Nuclear for different elements of it. I mean, you know, Destination Nuclear, it's great if we go out there and attract people, drive people to want to apply. But if the training provision isn't in place, if the recruitment and onboarding isn't in place, if the employer value proposition or the environment by which those people come in and join the nuclear sector isn't quite what we're promising, so the reality isn't as we promised, then actually, you know, it's not going to work. They're either not going to join or they're going to hemorrhage as soon as they have. So the whole collaboration of all those different people, all those different minds has been, you know, an absolute game changer for me in being able to experience actually working with people from completely different organisations.
Yeah, and it's interesting when I reflect on the Calm Design School that we ran. I think we had 6 young leaders from 6 different nuclear organisations, all representing 6 different volunteer groups. And so for those of you that aren't aware, there are a plethora of different volunteer groups across nuclear, sort of prioritising different aspects of the agenda. So I think we had that sort of 6 organisations and 6 volunteer groups across the participants. So that is a kind of real example, isn't it, of that collaboration in play. What do you think the impact of Calm Design School was in terms of making a difference for your agenda?
I think it was a real, it was really interesting because the whole principle behind what we're trying to do is not to create something in an ivory tower. It's actually hold up a mirror to the sector and reflect back. So, you know, us always having our ideas and then getting them out there, you know, is all very well. But the opportunity design school gave us was to actually listen from a different point of view, different perspective, and then feed that in, because, you know, these are the people that we're trying to attract in the future. So, you know, let's not second guess the behaviours and what's going to work and what isn't. And it was just a great opportunity to be able to sort of workshop with different minds and get a different perspective. Yeah, more formally, you know, they weren't sat in the team, but more formally, you know, we could feed that in, and it kept it real, keeps it real.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant to do from my perspective. And also I think what you always see is the power of the bonds that it creates across the group, and the way that they kind of continue to be connected following the experience, which again is all part of growing that sense of community. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Lynne, for your time. Absolutely always fascinating to listen to you, and I think you have such interesting insights in terms of how to move change forward in such a complex space. Just to kind of finish off, we always ask kind of the people that come on the Calm Hub, what would be your sort of takeaway for what, you know, your top tip for 1% calmer as a calm leader in this crazy world that we now live in?
Crazy world. Yeah, I mean, I think I probably mentioned it before, and I think it's a little bit different maybe than to what you would normally hear, but it's bring yourself to work and lead as yourself and let others be themselves. I mean, you know, throughout this whole experience with Destination Nuclear, I mean, so part of my team, we've had some crazy fun knowing each other. You know, I've one of my team ended up randomly, she'll kill me for saying this, but getting some chickens, and there's all sorts going on with these chickens that kept escaping into her living room. But, you know, we didn't sort of say, no, that's not professional, Amy. You know, in fact, you've got a chicken, I've just said her name now, she's going to go mad, chicken wandering around, you know. But I think, I'd say, the whole slow down to go faster, the real culture of what you're working within, leading people. I mean, when they're all people, if you can really get to know people, and, you know, I'm not saying you have to be friends with people, but really get to know them, get to know how they take, and be yourself, and not try and be somebody you're not, you will be 1% calmer, because you can't keep that facade up.
Yeah.
You know, you need to be your true self, would be, and you need to help your teams be their true selves as well.
Yeah, and the mask comes down for good reasons, doesn't it? And we're feeling sort of afraid, but actually it takes such a lot of energy, doesn't it, to keep the mask in place? If you don't need it, you're already kind of like 5 steps ahead. Oh, Lynne, thank you. We've got a couple of minutes left. If anyone has got any quick questions, shout them out or pop them in the chat. Otherwise, I'll tell you about what's coming up next while you perhaps have a think. So next March is the last Calm Hub session before Calm Fest, which I'll tell you about in a second. And we have, if any of you watched Dragon's Den, so you might have seen Liam Brown. He founded a cacao brand called Full Power Cacao, and he got investment from some of the dragons. And he is, a force to be reckoned with. It's going to be a fun Calm Hub workshop. It's going to be an interesting chat for sure. But he's going to tell us all about why he believes in cacao and the power of it. And for those of you that have not come across cacao, it is chocolate that is good for you. So sounds good to me. So if you want to kind of join us for that session in March, or sign up and get it on playback. And then obviously we'll be getting ready for CalmFest. So a crazy week, lots of different sessions of things going on, competitions, activities, challenges. We'd love to have you and your organisation and team sign up. So just drop me a note if you haven't already. I know a few of you on already have and already taking part in it. Yeah, it's going to be a really good week. Mental Health Awareness Week, 12th to 16th of May. Thank you again, Lynne. Absolutely brilliant as always to catch up with you, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. Take care.
Great. Thanks for having me, Sarah.
Bye. Bye.